What's going on, everybody? My name's Derek, this is Fatal RPM. So we're just about ready to get the inspection done on the Z. The only thing that we honestly need at this point is going to be tires and brakes. We might be able to get away with our brakes, but definitely not the tires. Our tires are ultra cracked. And if you know how to read date codes, 37th week of 2011. These tires are very old. So 110% not gonna pass the inspection, and we need to replace those. I didn't want to buy new tires for old wheels, so I do have our ESRs that we're gonna go ahead and throw on there, the 18 by 9.5s, and then we have some, I think they're, this is 275, 35, 18s. But the thing about it is, when I test fitted it on there, we did have just a slight backspacing issue. Let me show you. But before we jack up the car, let's get a quick cold start. Really anticlimactic now with the exhaust system. Yeah, I could barely fit this jack under here with it at its current right height. So these are the wheels that we're going to be putting on Miso, the ESR CS8s. If you haven't seen them, I did show these in my unboxing video of pretty much everything that I had gotten for this build a couple years ago. But these are 18 by 9.5. The issue that we have with these is, honestly, just the back spacing. It's really no space at all. So to solve that issue, we're going to be lowering the car. How's that gonna help exactly? Well, with these. Now what I have laid out here before you is going to be what we're gonna be using to actually lower the car. Now if you're not familiar with the 300ZX, they actually have the strut welded to the spindle. So what that would mean is, in order for you to actually replace the coilovers that are on the car from the factory, is you would have to cut them off the spindle, get a specific weld-in coilover, and then weld them in. So instead of doing that, what I've gone ahead and did was I got a S13 conversion kit for the 300ZX spindles. What it's going to do is it's going to give us these adapters as well as some hardware, which will allow us to actually mount S13 coils to the 300ZX. Now these in and of themselves aren't going to help us with our backspacing issue. What that's going to be are going to be these guys here, which are roll center adjusters. And essentially what this is going to do is it's going to raise the wheel in the wheel well, and also it's going to offset it out. So you can see these are the bolt holes, and essentially it's going to take the existing bolt hole and shift it out even further. So what that would look like is something like this. And essentially what it's going to do, like I said, is it's going to shift that out just a little bit, and that's going to give us just a little bit more backspacing to be able to install our wheels. And the other things that we have here are going to be these bushings, which are going to adapt the bolt hole size from the S13 rears to our 300ZXs, as well as the hardware for both the adapter and the roll center adjustment. We also have some new wheel bearings. I do have an assortment here. These are the ones that came with the car. I actually just purchased these because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to find those. We also have some other bearings and oil seals in the back, as well as some brand new regular OE studs. I'm not really going to worry about going with extended studs because we're going to have to run spacers, I'm sure. And in order for me to put a spacer on there, I'm going to be using completely different studs anyway, and it's going to be a little more advantageous for us to have shorter studs. So let's go ahead and get started with our install. The first thing I'm going to do before I even really get into this is I'm going to make sure that I have the proper, that's not the right thing, socket for this guy. Let me get a feel for this. That's what the brake pad's holding up, so. Oh my God. These brake pads are falling apart. I should be able to move free right now. fronts wore substantially more than the rears for some reason. The caliper is 214s. Oh my god, the mic hasn't been plugged in this entire time. The audio has been atrocious. Perfect, it's a 19. The leverage. The new ones are extended by just a little bit. Look at that. That's definitely a 26, but we're gonna try and it's not on there that tight, actually. There you go. We got the bearing, which actually appears to be in like tremendous condition. I don't know why the guy said that it needs wheel bearings. But front bearing, which looks like it's in tremendous condition. Of course, we got the washer. We'll take a look at the race here in a second. Race doesn't have any scoring or anything on there, so I don't know. All right, we just got a couple more steps before we can go ahead and get this guy off, and that's going to be pulling off this dust shield, unbolting it from the lower control arm, and then unbutton the strut from up top. Cool. This is why a parts washer. This is why a parts washer. 17mm wrench. Oh. Holy. Wow. When I say those things were tight, those things were ridiculously tight. Yeah, no. I don't even know why I'm bothering trying the small stuff. I know it's not going to work. This is all steering. Like, it really shouldn't. I don't know why I just took that out. I didn't need to take that out. Like, at all. Because that is staying on there. These look like 15s. I'm going to try a 17 because I always get that wrong. 17. Of course. There was a 17. Alrighty, here we go. I smacked the control arm a couple times. Use the pry bar wherever I put the big one at. So, prying it out with a pry bar is definitely the move. Oh shit, I forgot about the brake line. Take out your brake line before this. Now we have a strut. So as you can see, you have your strut, which is welded to the body of the spindle. So we're going to be going from this to this, which will make our life immensely easier, actually, or at least it should. We'll see. All right, so before we install this, I am going to brush this down. Honestly, this might make this a little more dirty than it is going to clean it up, but I do want to brush it down with something. It's at this point that you would want to replace your ball joint, especially if you're in my position where your ball joint boot is torn. Unfortunately, I don't have any of these available to me now, so I'm going to go ahead and do this at a later date. And that's made easier, especially because of the opening on the back of our roll center adjusters. This will allow us to get to the bolt. It might be very difficult to get to the cotter pin, but it will 100% allow us to get to the bolt without actually removing our strut like we would have had to do with stock. Now, the way that these install is super easy. It gives us two types of hardware for each side. This side is going to be the part that actually goes into our lower control arm. And these are going to be the ones that are going to attach our spindle to our roll center adjusters. The carriage bolts are going to have two washers on them, a locking washer and a regular washer. and the socket screws are going to have just the locking washer. And the reason why is because they just don't have the clearance to be able to fit the other washer on there. And that's exactly why we're using these socket screws in this location, because there's no way we would ever be able to get a wrench in here and actually get this tightened down. So these are 10mm sockets that we're gonna go ahead and bolt onto our spindle. Once you're done, it should look something like this. And then all we have to do is go ahead and set it on here and bolt this into the car. If you do want to have some type of security, you can always put Loctite, at least on the part that goes from the roll center to the spindle. The only downside is you might have to destroy it if you ever have to replace your spindle. But now that we're all set up here, we can go ahead and get our strut actually installed. Now for this, they give you 4 pieces of hardware for each side. We have these bolts and flange nuts that we're going to actually use to install the strut onto the spindle. We also have this bolt here, which is going to go into the top. And this will actually lock down the adjustment. As you can see, we have a little bit of adjustment on each side. And essentially what this will do is it'll lock our carriage bolt in place after we're done with the install. Last but not least, it also has these bolts. I have no idea what these actually go to. There are no other holes that I see on here for this. So yeah, we're gonna just hold on to these. The coilovers we're going with for this install are going to be the Maxpeedingrods Coilovers. A lot of people don't like the quality of them. They say they're trash. However, there were just the right amount of good reviews on this, as far as like actual people using them in like YouTube videos and stuff, to the point where I'm willing to give them a shot. So I'm going to go with the base setup right here. The preload's already set, so we don't have to mess with that. The only thing we'll have to do to adjust the ride height is go ahead and loosen the locking collar and then spin the body down into this guy here, which it looks like we have quite a bit of adjustment left. The only downside to the S13 Coilovers is I'm pretty sure these don't line up top, so we're going to have to embiggen one of our holes. And unfortunately for me, since I don't have power in the garage, that means I'm going to have to hand file this if I actually want to get this installed. So let's go ahead, start the installation on this guy. Try and install these. I don't think it's going to line up. Yep, no, we're off by a little bit on this one here. That needs to be made larger by quite a bit. Alright, that should be good enough. Drilling that is probably not the best of ideas. There we go. Maybe. Maybe not. Actually, I have no idea. Hold on. Uh-oh. Maybe it's not quite there. You could open this up a little bit too, but I'm just gonna leave it because that is reinforcement, and I don't think it's gonna cause that big of an issue, honestly. Now you can see, as is, we are quite a far cry from where it's supposed to be. At the very least, what this distance is, which I would say is probably around 2.5 inches. We're going to have to go ahead and loosen up this lower control arm. You might have to remove or at least loosen this leading control arm so that I can actually go ahead and lift this up. And from what you remember, if you remember the view of the Z, it can definitely go like about at least 3 inches lower, because it is very, very high. 22, it's 22. See how much we can lift this by. Not a whole bunch. I think our limiting factor here is still going to be our sway bar and our control arm. Have to go ahead, just quickly uninstall these. ahead and pull this out. And we're just gonna rotate this down. 1, 2, 10. And we got basically half this body left. It's going to like right there. So we're good there. All right, so that's 10 that we brought it out. So we'll go ahead and do the same thing on the other side once we get to that point. So unfortunately my camera died, and it's probably gonna die again. But the way to go is definitely to remove the bolt that attaches the sway bar to the control arm. Once you remove that, that is what is in fact keeping this from moving. Even though I did remove it from the other side, or loosen the mount on the other side, I just needed to go a little further with it. But once we got that, I went ahead, I got this all straightened up. The thing about it is it's basically straight right now, which means there's probably gonna be a ton of camber in it whenever we drop it. The camber plate up top is zeroed out. I have this pushed all the way in, so the max amount of camber is on the coilover adapter right here. So with that being said, we can go ahead and tighten this down and get everything reassembled. And this is a ride height example of what it's like. Lowered, technically, and still off the ground, compared to this side. So you can see, it's definitely lower by at least 3 or 4 inches. It's quite drastic, especially if we look down the front. It almost looks like we have a rock climbing Z. So now with this mostly assembled, the only thing we haven't done is reconnected the sway bar, and that's because we need to disconnect it from the other side to be able to properly install it. We need to move over to the other side and get this thing swapped out. Now, there's a bunch of ways to pack a bearing. There's tools that they use. However, it's not that difficult. See, there's one side that has a large opening, one side that has a small opening. You want to go ahead and pack it into there. Essentially what we're taking is a dollop of grease right into the palm of my hand, and essentially what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of scooping and pressing this stuff in there, like that. It's a bit messy, but hey, it is what it is. And essentially I'm going to keep doing this until I see it coming out the top. So you can see right now we don't see any out the top at the moment. So you can see it starts coming out the top there. It's actually squeezing out between the bearings as well, which is exactly what we want. Alright, so this one's pretty good, and essentially I'm just going to take this now, slather what's left in my hand, stick the bearing in here. I'm going to swap my gloves. Now we just need to torque it. 17, 18. Perfect. All done. So now that we're pretty much fully installed, the only thing I haven't installed on there were the brake calipers. So it's about 3 o'clock or so on a Friday, and I would actually like to get a test ride in on this tonight. And seeing as how I still don't have electricity in here, I'm kind of running a little bit sparse on both time and daylight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and load up the wheels and tires into the Hyundai, take them down to a tire shop so I can actually have them mount the tires onto the wheels. And that way, once we do the back, we'll actually have something to drive around on. I'm pretty sure the ride height's going to be enough. We might have to play with it just a little bit because, yeah, it's quite a big difference compared to how it was before. So hopefully we don't have any issues dropping this car, but we shall see. So let's go ahead. I need to pull this wheel and I need to get all the wheels out of the corner as well as the tires and figure out if I can even load them into this car. It's gonna be interesting. All right, so I've somehow managed to get the tires in here as well as the wheels and the other tires. So, go ahead and grab my glasses and we'll go ahead and roll out and get these things mounted. So we just finished up getting all the tires mounted. So now we just need to get back to the garage and we'll mount the wheels onto the car and actually finish the rear suspension because we do still have to do that. Basically, I'm gonna keep going here until I see that suspension stop traveling, which it just did. The only thing about it, doesn't look like there's very much travel. All right, that is all my suspension tidied up. Let's drop it. Ooh, hub-centric rings. Hub-centric rings. Gotta put in the hub-centric rings. So, in an attempt to kind of get ahead of everything just like a little bit and start pulling off the rear tire to be able to see what I need to do on the car, I realized something. This here is the adapter that we need in order to actually adapt these to the car. I'm sorry that you can't actually see it, but that leads to the problem. The fact that you can't see it, because I don't have electricity in the garage right now. I actually have to sand that thing down, like quite a bit. I gotta grind it basically. So I'm not gonna be able to do that until I get electricity in this garage. When that's gonna be, I don't know, unfortunately. So I think for now, I'm just gonna throw the wheels on the back since I have them, and I don't know when I'm gonna have electricity because it's been a week and a half since I've lost it basically at this point. So let's just go ahead, put the wheels on the car, and we'll worry about doing the rears at some other point in time. But just so you can see, with the wide body, we got about 2.5, maybe 3-inch spacer that we need to actually get these to sit flush, it would appear. Says we need about 1.5 inches looking straight down. On this side, it's almost 3 inches, which is weird. I think the wide body is lower on this side. No, it's definitely lower over here. Huh. We take a look at the camber plate. Yeah, it's not zeroed out. We got negative camber on the side. Looks to be about the same. I can't tell because no light, so I don't know. But it looks like we need anywhere between, like, depending on the amount of camber that we're running, which looks a bit much, not gonna lie. Like that, that's quite a bit of camber. I think I'm gonna take some of that out. Definitely looks better. Not nearly as much camber because the only lower it is gonna throw some angle in there anyway. So I'm gonna have to adjust these. Right, so we have completely lost daylight, but this is what we're looking like here in the back. You can see our ride height is atrocious. We got the same thing over here. So this is kind of what the profile of the car looks like. It's gonna be really hard to see right now, but yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop this. We're gonna be raking like one of those like wild ratted out Hot Wheels, funny enough. So go ahead, just gonna drop this thing real quick. I'm gonna take it around the block. Mainly because I just wanna kinda scoot this guy around real quick. I don't really have a way to set you guys up with a light or anything because this is my phone. So you can see this is what it's like with no light. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and jack the car down, or let the car down, and we'll take it for a spin. So this is gonna be next to impossible to film, but I kind of want to see what this, I want you guys to see at the same time where this is going to sit. I don't think I'm going to have enough room for the jack, I'm not going to lie to you. Hold on. Damn. That was quick. Woo! Yeah, the car's on the jack. Kind of. Oh my. This is too low. And unfortunately, the jack is now stuck under the car. Woo! There it goes. Wait. Oh, I might actually be able to wiggle this out. Holy shit, this thing is loud. Oh my god. Like, this is my knee. The front, holy shit. That's crazy. That's really low. I can't drive this like this. This is insane. This rake is probably looking fucking immaculate. Really hard to tell here in the garage. At least I can't tell. So I'm gonna try and wiggle this jack out. Oh, that's what that sound was, the hood falling. Oh no, that was the sound of the hood falling. Oh shit. Hold on. Oh no. I hope it didn't break my intake. I hope it didn't break the intake. I hope it would suck. Fuck me! No way! Oh my god, it did. I knew it. I knew it. I fucking knew it. I guess I wasn't meant to drive this thing tonight. Alright, well, we'll reprint this for... Actually, I don't have the resin to reprint this, so we're not going to be able to drive this for a hot second, unfortunately. This sucks. I found this guy. Do my best not to hit the wheel off of the rotor like that. Holy shit. I didn't think about the fact that I do YouTube videos when I was like, we don't need power steering. Because we need power steering.